So the handrail on this banister is almost, and I mean almost, the very last chore that I've got to take care of on this whole project. I've been rolling this over in the back of my mind now, frankly, for years. And it was a huge relief when the forging on the banister dropped into shape and into place. And I have pretty good confidence now that since this final piece is going to have the flexibility of being joined to wood rather than to the finished surfaces in the house, we're going to be able to bring this thing across the finish line. For me, working in the shop, whether it's woodwork or blacksmith work, the rule of thumb is, if you've got to make more than two, you better make a jig. It's going to save you a ton of time and make a huge difference in the quality of the product. Well, I started on this top rail last night, a couple hours before quitting time, up on the balcony, and I had kind of a tough time. I didn't have enough clamps. I was a little premature. I broke off a couple screws. Now, I think I saved that situation, but it was not fun, right? I mean, it was stressful and disappointing and scary. And what those of you who work behind computers or in front of computers don't realize is that sometimes this business is disappointing and confusing and scary and stressful and expensive. But I guess every livelihood is, probably. So I've got more clamps today. I've got an assortment of parts and tools and screwdrivers that I needed yesterday that I've got today, and hopefully it's going to go a lot better. Just trying to get a little more relief so that these collars will slip right up tight against the oak. I've been having some trouble with that. Apparently my forging process and grinding process was at least slightly random. I should have brought a bar of soap to soap these screws, but I'm using the Johnson's paste wax that I had on hand for a couple other little chores around here. It works great, it's just a little messier. Okay, I think these are going to work. I'll go ahead and cut this one and then figure out some way to hold it in position and get these standards screwed to the wall like I did over on that other railing. Sort of do the trick of holding it where it goes, making the corners fit, gluing them, doweling them, fastening them, and we'll put this thing to rest. So I have this in place, kind of mocked up. I have the miters clamped together down there on the bottom. I'll be able to glue those in place here in a little bit. I have to make sure that this is code compliant, and the code insists that the top of the handrail be no more than 38 inches. I'm 37.5 down there on top of the forged section, and right now we are the same right here. So there's every reason to hope that we're consistent down through the slope. Eyeballing plumb. Yeah, we have forgiveness. So this is where I'm going to attach that thing. All right, so we're in the home stretch. We're ready to kind of glue up the last couple of miters, take care of the bow that's in this rail, get it back out and clamp down to these standards. I found the backing. That was a big relief. At one point I was afraid that I had not put it in, but it turned out I did. So maybe here in a couple hours we'll have this thing pretty well wrapped up. One of the mantras, or sort of tongue-in-cheek guidelines of what it means to do blacksmith work, is that you measure it by eye, you cut it with a hot cut, and then you hammer it until it fits. But the problem is that all of the forging and fabrication on this whole railing project was constrained by the absolute necessity to repeat the sizes and the spaces and the shapes to a tolerance that was visually right. Visually perfect, really, allowing for handwork. But in reality, I am positive that if a machinist saw this and put a set of calipers on the work that I was doing here, he would either laugh or cry, because from a machinist's perspective, the tolerances are radically pathetic. But for a blacksmith, I think all in all, it turned out pretty good. Okay, with the banister done, let's jump over and show a few of the other details and odds and ends that had to be taken care of on this project. Now, Rico and Tim are installing sort of a simple crown molding and the base shoe and installing the Lazy Susans in the corner cabinets. And just like a lot of other jobs, it's the final details that seem to take the most time. Maybe this is why the world seems to be full of folks who are anxious to start a project and short on folks who will truly finish a project. I think it's important for all of us to think about becoming finishers of projects and not just simply starters. My friend Dave stepped in again to help me with the baseboard down here. I made most of the cuts, scattered the pieces, and he nailed them up. The material had been painted earlier on sawhorses, so once it's in place, all the painters are going to have to do is caulk it and touch it up again when they come back on their final punch list. Thank you, Dave. These little vent well forms were put in a long time ago. It's really easy to build a form in a situation like this that just can't be pulled back out. So for these, each piece is tapered all the way to the bottom. The edges are beveled a little bit, and I just used my brad nailer to put them together. Concrete forms have got to be just a little bit tougher than they need to be, but not tougher than you are. Something that I learned when I was working for other contractors in the first half of my construction time was that a builder is no better than the people he uses as his subcontractors. So I've been blessed for the last 26 years to work with some of the best in the business, and most have become good friends. For me, I think, in fact I'm sure, this has been the best part of life as a builder. Thank you for watching Essential Craftsman, and keep up the good work.